Oh my God, I think I did that flawlessly today.
It went well.
Oh, I'll never do it that good again. Here we are at the Crystal Clear Point Studios with Miles of Smiles Events, and we're talking again. Watch out. And we have Dr. Matthew Pierce, and we have herbalist Lou Morris. It's like I like announcing wrestlers.
Yeah.
And we have in this corner,
Wrestling live. That's what we're
yeah,
doing.
live wrestling. And here I am, Deborah Colleen Rose, your host and the hostess with the mostest. Maybe. Who knows? Okay, I got to tell y'all this. I got a message the other day off of one of our podcasts, and they want to know why are you always drinking when you're doing your podcast? Because I can. And they wanted to know what I was drinking. And I was like, anything I want. Sometimes it's a protein shake. Sometimes it's tea. Today it's a cream soda.
Well,
Mm.
there you go. I haven't had a good cream soda in a while. Used to be this little mom and pop shop in the middle of nowhere up near Erie, Pennsylvania. And at camp, we would always walk the 3 miles to go get like cream sodas or
Oh yeah.
sarsaparillas or whatever else
Yeah.
like that. And oh my gosh, they were amazing.
I love
So
those old timey stuff like that. And I have to tell you, the Walmart brand of the cream soda is not shabby. I'm
really,
surprised. Yeah, and it's cheap.
hmm.
But I thought about putting some amaretto in it today. And I thought, well, do I really need to do that? And I said, no, but I really want to. I think next week I'll just have a beer because in my green glass, you won't be able to tell what it is. All right, so we decided today that we were going to talk about movies because it was on the top of my head like a little pinprick because I went to see the sequel to Beetlejuice yesterday. Oh my God. Oh my God. And it had some of my favorite people in it. I love Winona Ryder. I love
Hmm.
William Dafoe. I love Danny DeVito. I love the little Wednesday girl. What's her name? The girl that plays Wednesday. I love her.
um, yeah,
I
I'm drawing
love
a blank. I'm bad with like actors and actresses' names. I know the movie. And I'm like, oh yeah, her.
Yeah, I'm bad
Never
with
remember her name.
names too. I'm bad with musicians' names and stuff like that. I'm always having to look them up and get my Shazam out and all that crap. 'Cause, well, I'm bad with my friends' names, so go figure. But so I went in there thinking, surely, and I love Michael Keaton. Oh my God, Michael Keaton is the best Batman in the whole wide world. I don't care what you say. He is the best. And I loved him in Mr. Mom. That was so hot. But I was like, oh my God. I just felt like somebody was pinching me the whole time I was watching it. It was just, stop it, stop it. That's annoying. Stop it.
Movie
It
was
was,
annoying.
oh my God. I wanted to throw popcorn at the movie screen, but I didn't have any.
That's unusual.
Well, I can't eat it yet because of my mouth. It's not healed yet,
Now, Lorraine,
so.
have you seen that movie, the new Beetlejuice? Because I haven't.
No,
I
I
kind
have
of want to go
not.
see it.
And that's what I was wondering about. Was it worth all the hype? Because there's been a lot. Was it just as good as the first one?
I've heard a lot of people were like very disappointed.
Hmm.
But on the other side of the coin, I don't listen to critics because I never really agree with them for the most part.
Mm.
Like we went to see Reagan last weekend, Scott and I did. And I'm going to tell you something. It was very well done. I don't care what the damn critics said. Considering how much history was going on during his lifetime,
Mhm.
I think they did a really good job of hitting the highlights in the 2 hour period. At the end of the movie, the theater was packed, number one. Everyone stayed till the last credit ran and the lights came up and they
Oh,
applauded. They applauded. How many movies you go to now that people applaud?
Yeah.
You
not
know,
none.
but it got a horrible rating with the critics. But you know what? Those critics are attached to Hollywood, and you know what all the conspiracy theories say about Hollywood.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there was two gentlemen that used to do critiquing, and I cannot remember their names, but like when they went away, it was like Rotten Tomatoes like kind of just stepped in and they became the critics for everything. But there was two guys
Ebert
that
and
Oh,
something.
yes, yeah, Siskel, Siskel and Ebert,
Siskel and
Cisco.
Ebert. Yeah,
Siskel
that's
and
right.
Ebert,
And
yeah.
Ebert still does them.
Oh,
The
does
other
he?
guy
Okay,
passed, I believe.
The other
So
man died, had cancer and
yeah,
died.
yeah, yeah.
yes. So I did my due diligence. Which do you want first, the remakes or the sequels?
I'm interested in the sequels because I mean I've had my fill of remakes. I mean it's just like can we please leave things alone?
Well, if they're
Because
good
I
movies, why do
consider
you need to
like going
remake
from
them?
cartoon to live a remake. To me,
I
that's
mean,
that's just like don't.
if it's a
Well,
good movie, why do you need to remake it? That's what I don't understand.
what was the movie with the remake was called Sabrina, and it was about
I don't know.
Was it the Teenage Witch? I mean, because
no, no, no,
no, Sabrina. Oh
no.
wait, with God, what was his name? Uh,
Matthew McConaughey. No, no, played
It was
Star
called
Wars.
it was called
I,
Sabrina.
I know the movie you're talking about.
I thought that remake was really great.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Was that Pierce Brosnan?
No, it was
No.
damn it, Harrison Ford.
Michael, it was
Oh,
Ford Harrison, Harrison Ford, Julia Ormond, Greg Kinnear, Richard Crenna, Angie Dickinson, Fanny Ardant. I didn't see that, I don't guess.
It's
but
a
it, I
remake.
mean, I
The
liked
original
it.
was made in 1954.
Mhm.
Okay, so here are the sequels. That's what you said you wanted, right? The
Yeah.
sequels.
Yes.
First, I got a list of 15. Number 15 is Independence Day. Resurgence diminished the threat and sense of dread from the original. But it was Independence Day Resurgence diminished.
They said that was better or that it was
No, they said
worse.
these are horrible. These are all horrible. They're worse. They're
I was gonna
horrible.
say because no, I wouldn't have even touched that. I was like,
No, these are horrible. The next one was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
oh yes, bleh, no.
The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
I did not watch The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh, I love the original Matrix. Oh my
Yes,
God.
it was very
Well, I
good.
mean, if you know a little bit of the background of the Matrix series and how the Matrix what was done, Reloaded is kind of like the end chapter of it.
Hmm.
So it's not necessarily a remake; it's the continuation of.
Well, these are
But
sequels. These are
yeah,
sequels. Yeah.
yeah, I
So did it tie up any loose ends?
it did. It actually did. I mean, if you know the story behind it, but I would
But you
probably
didn't
agree
care.
that it could have been done differently.
Yeah, by the time they got through, you're like, I don't care. So what? Sign me up. I don't give a damn. You know? Okay, this one I agree with on almost all of them. Is Spider-Man 3. I
I
know.
didn't
Was
even
that
watch that.
I mean, how many Spider-Man movies do we need? Really? We got the multiverse shit going on, and oh my God, it just I'm done with it. Done, done, and done.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, with that, the Marvel universe, you're going to start seeing a lot more of it.
Well, and I love comic books. Okay, so I got a great story. I got a great story about comic books. When I grew up in Texarkana, one of my dad's really good friends was a man that would go to the different stores and stock the newspaper stands and the magazine stands. And once a week, he would come by when all the new comic books would come out and let me pick out all the comic books I wanted every week. I
Oh,
had
cool.
tons and tons and tons of comic books. I loved them, and the Creep Show ones and all the Marvels and all the DC comics. I had all of them. So I appreciate a good comic. I do. Really, really do. They have torn them up in the movies, though. I hate that.
Yeah.
Hate, hate, hate it. Okay, this one I really agree with. Terminator Genesis.
Oh, forget it. No, no.
I think they did too many of those movies.
Well, they're continuing on. I mean, the franchise is continuing because there's actually one more coming out. So,
Okay, let me tell you about the Terminator. There's one scene I love. Okay, and I'm not bi, but I thought about it for a day.
Damn.
When Sarah Connor comes out in that white tank top, I started to say wife beater, but that's what it was. And she
so
had that shotgun and she went ching, ching, with that one arm. You're
yep.
going, yeah, girl, get it, get it.
Hmm.
Oh my God, that was hot. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was so hot. I loved it.
I go
What were
back
we
to the
talking?
original Terminator when Arnold Schwarzenegger actually the first comes through, and the camera kind of pans, and the steam like just kind of like
Yeah.
like that, and he's butt ass naked.
Yep. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
there we go. This is my kind of movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love the Terminator movies, but that one sucked. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, the next one, Mortal Kombat. I'm like, why did they make the first one, much less the second one? Oh my God. But my kids love them.
Yeah,
So,
I have to say that I loved him too. I mean, even though I kind of agree that the sequel was subpar.
I mean, you got to have some substance and you got to, and if you're going to connect to a story that's already been told, you better bring something to the table that adds depth to that story. Otherwise, it's just, you're like a fleeting image of the original story, you know?
Well, I think with a lot of the sequels, if you kind of exclude like the common characters, okay, like you bring in new characters or you try to do something different with like because a lot of these movies have like a cult following. You
Yeah.
know, they're like if Sub-Zero is not in a Mortal Kombat movie, it's not a Mortal Kombat movie. You know, so or Nick Fury, I mean not Nick Fury, God, what was his name? I can't remember. Anyway, but if the normal characters aren't there,
Well, why don't you just give it another name and start a whole nother series of movies or something, you know? But,
be
they want to play
creative.
off, the success.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, they want to play off the success of the last one, but they're not doing
RoboCop 3.
what? RoboCop.
RoboCop 3.
Um,
Why?
Do you know where that
One,
was? I believe it was RoboCop 3 that was filmed in Las Colinas.
I
Was it
think
really?
so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. So but the comment that there was a lot of comments. I didn't print them up, but the one comment that came through on RoboCop 3 is they traded adult themes and storyline for toy sales. That was all about selling toys.
Yep.
I hate movies that are just all about product promotion. Speed 2.
Um,
I
Mm-mm.
didn't see that. I
Okay.
loved the first one.
I'm gonna get really nailed on some of these. Caddyshack 2. I'm like, why Caddyshack 1? Oh my God, that movie sucked.
okay. I have to say that I love Caddyshack 1. I would just because I mean Bill Murray is one of my favorite characters, you know, and just the way that he acted in that movie, it's like I kind of want to just be him for like a day and just be as totally as stupid could be, you know, or just like don't mind the wires, you know, that kind of thing. It's just
Well, I love Bill Murray on Saturday Night Live, and I
yeah.
loved him in Stripes. Oh my God, I love Stripes. But a lot of those movies, I don't like that kind of humor. It's
Mm.
it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. They just
Groundhog Day was good.
Say again?
uh,
Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
okay, y'all go on with the show. I'm leaving. I'll be back to turn it off.
I,
Groundhog Day. Anyway,
I don't know. I just the things that like the Hangover, and things like that. I don't like that kind of humor. American Pie, no, though I don't like those. Those are not funny to me. I don't like them. No, no. Okay, Son of Mask. No to Mask. No, hell no to
oh,
Son of Mask. Again,
oh,
I love Jim Carrey in like short skits. I cannot watch 2 hours of him.
yeah.
It's just it's too ridiculous. It's just too. If that was my child, I'd spank him. If that was my husband, I would spank him. I don't care how many millions of dollars he was making. No, no, hell to the no.
And again, that's he has a cult following for the mask. I mean, so
He
it's
really does. I like
yeah.
him better now that he's come out being who he is now with his art and
Mhm.
his philosophical stuff. I really dig him now. I'm like, where were you 20 years ago? You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, his
Cars.
girlfriend died. That'll change anybody.
What
Mhm.
died? Who died?
His girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And for a while,
That's
they were
terrible.
accusing him of doing it.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Oh, that's terrible. How did she die? Did they determine?
Was it, they said suicide?
Oh, oh.
That's that's what they're saying, but there were some questions of like kind of surrounding that, like it wasn't plausible. But I mean that was the final verdict.
Oh, I hate that for him. I hate that for anybody. That there's just so many things that are left unsaid, undone, unanswered when there's a kind of death like that. Just,
Yeah.
you know, and you just, I had a brother that committed suicide. And, to this day, I mean, it's been over 30 years and we've made up a scenario in our head that we think makes sense, but we don't know. And because he didn't leave a letter, a note, nothing. And it can be
Yeah.
very haunting. Okay. Cars 2.
Ours.
That cartoon with the cars.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I saw that. Yeah. I don't
I
remember
saw
seeing
it.
that.
It scarred me.
It scarred you.
Yeah, it was so bad.
What year was that?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Next on the list is Trimmers, not 2, but 3. Trimmers 3 got the bad the bad slug.
I don't know. Sometimes I have to question like why? Why? I mean, you thought that two was so good, so we'll go three,
Yeah, no.
or like
2 was awful. I have to admit though, I love the first one.
I
I love Kevin
that I
Bacon.
can
I
see. I
love
mean,
Reber. I love me some Reber,
hmm,
especially when she's got a gun in her hands.
yep.
I mean, that was just a fun, fun movie. It just was. So, I'm a hillbilly. Sue me.
But again, I mean, I can see that was like it was enjoyable, and loved it, loved the characters, loved the storyline, so on and so forth. But what was so incredible about it that it needed the second one? Like, why not
Yeah,
leave the idea
yeah,
alone? And I was
yeah.
telling you this before we started. We were talking about what we were going to talk about today, and I was like, it's really funny because I went on my Facebook and was going through my feed, and I see an advertisement for Goonies 2.
Why?
And I'm like, that was part of my childhood. Why are you messing with my childhood? And what possibly are you going to do? Are you going to, is it a remake where they're bringing in new characters, or if this is like a continuation of the old one, what's happening? Same thing with the never-ending story. I mean, that movie
Oh,
myself, I mean, that traumatized me as a kid, with the Trios horse dying in the mud pit, but they want to do a second one?
how can they do
Mm,
that better? That's what I want to know. How can they
yeah.
do that better? You
Well, I
know,
mean,
they can do
I
it
think that
different, but can they do it better?
well, yeah, and that's my question is always the same thing. It was like, well, did the special effects get to the point where they can do things that they couldn't do previously? You know, I don't know.
Are they remaking Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I haven't heard that about that.
That's a movie that should never get remade either. I mean, how
No.
can you do anything with Meatloaf? Oh my God, how
Oh,
can you do anything better than that? I mean, it's a cult movie for sure.
oh
Yes.
yeah. I think people would be up in arms if they like announced like, oh, we're remaking or we're redoing or even Jim Carrey came back.
No.
Well, and I have to admit, I saw it for the first time when I was drunk. I was in my
Mm.
early 20s. Went to a midnight movie on a date and was feeling no pain. And I'm not sure I would have loved it much if I hadn't been drunk, but it was hilarious, being inebriated. And my husband adores it. He used to be one of those culters, those
Mhm.
cultists, that would show up and they would do costumes and they would throw things at the screen and
Interesting.
they would say all the words. And I never did that.
I did
I'm
that
not a
at our
group.
coffee house one time. The college kids wanted to, you know, do the dress up and stuff. So we did it.
That would be fun at a coffee house.
Yeah.
I'm not a participator. I like to organize things and then sit back and watch, but I'm not a
Mhm.
participator, you know? So that would be fun to do. We should do that. Do it in the park. It's like, over in Fort Worth, they have movies at night, and they're not driving movies, you're floating in the Trinity River or some kind of swimming hole that they have. And so a couple of weeks ago they were showing Jaws while everybody's
Jaws.
floating around. No. First thing that jumped up on my leg, I'm out of there.
I don't I don't think they'd run into a shark, maybe a body, but not a shark.
Water moccasin. That's
Oh
Yeah.
just as
no.
bad. Yeah, water moccasin. Oh my God. So, okay, Hangover Part Two.
Forget it.
Oh,
I didn't even watch one because I thought it was ridiculous.
I tried to watch it twice with some people that wanted to watch it, and I fell asleep both times. And that's saying a lot for me because I don't usually sleep during movies. It just totally knocked me out.
If I find myself that I'm
Okay.
pulling out my phone, like, and I get on my phone and like start watching Facebook or whatever else like that, I know the movie sucks. I mean, usually, like I said, you can sit through it, but if your mind completely checks out and you're like, no.
I usually just start making rude comments back to the movie. That's what I do during football too. I'll start having conversations with them and pointing out how stupid they are. And, otherwise I totally check out, like you said. And it would probably be kinder to the people in the room that are with me, but I just feel like it's rude to check out. So I stay checked in any way I can.
Okay, so there was a remake of, God, what was that? Final Destination. Like there was a remake of the Final Destination. Okay. Or it was a sequel or something, but it was different characters, blah blah blah, and they actually used some of the same themes as the first one. Okay, and what made it enjoyable was, but believe it or not, the movie was awful. But I mean, what made it enjoyable is there were a couple ladies there that had been drinking beforehand, without a doubt, had been drinking beforehand, and they're shouting at the screen, okay? And God bless them. I love I love their attitude. They're like, are you a dumb white girl? Why are you going in that room? Don't do that. Don't put your hand down there. Come on. And throughout the entire movie, it was just one big long commentary, about how stupid you are for like getting yourself in these situations and so on and so forth. And it's like, don't get behind that truck. No, 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 no. Get off at the next exit. Look, there was the exit. Why aren't you getting off there? And it was just like everybody was like, will you please just shut up? But I was there and I was dying laughing because some of the stuff that she came up with was just like she was like yelling and screaming, and then all of a sudden she would turn to the lady that she was with and she goes, do you need some more popcorn? And it was like the movie was just for like for their entertainment, no one else. It was just for their entertainment. So that's what saved the movie, like really, is the commentary.
Well, sometimes that's fun. I like going to the movie theater because I can get immersed into the movie with the darkness and everything. And even if people are talking around me, I can tune that out better than I can at home because of the darkness. But I went with a girlfriend to see Shades of Grey at the movie theater. And I have never had so much fun in my life. There was a huge group of women there together. I guess there was like 20 of them sitting in smack dab in the center of the theater. Okay. And they're talking and they're telling, girl, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? And they're just hollering at the screen and they're clapping and they're jumping up and down in their seats and just squealing and everything. I have never had so much fun in my life. I just sat there and waited for them to say something else. It
What
just,
was the
it,
movie?
Shades of Grey.
Shades of Grey. 50
Oh,
Shades of Grey, yeah.
Where the rich guy beats the poor girl and he gets away with it because he's rich. That's how they describe the movie sometimes. It's about S&M. I tell you what, that dungeon though, that would make you water, that make your mouth water, and everything else. No.
Hey, I mean, when he said first drawer on the right, I was
Oh,
like, oh.
oh, I tell you what. I tell you what. That's a movie I'll watch again every once in a while. Okay, now I hate this because I know there's some really die-hard, no pun intended, fans out there with Bruce Willis. But A Good Day to Die Hard and Live Free
Yeah. Do you
is
know
on
he
the
didn't want to
list.
do that movie?
I don't blame him. It was
He didn't
terrible.
want to do the movie. And so, how he made it fun for himself, is he went to war with the continuity people in the movie and got away with it because they weren't as observant as he was.
Uh-oh.
When so like he pulls up on a motorcycle wearing cowboy boots, okay, and then after the scene is finished, comes back and hops on his motorcycle and he's wearing a pair of red Converse, okay, has a
Hey,
pair of
you got to take some
sunglasses,
where you can get
has a
it.
pair of sunglasses on that like is the wireframe with the the polarized lenses.
Mhm.
The next one's the wraparound black sunglasses. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he changed everything up. Like if you could like if it was beginning of a scene, he would change it up at the end of the scene. So that entire movie is just filled with incontinuity all the way through.
Well, that tells you how bad the movie is, though, because the people that are checking it for continuity can't even pay attention long enough to see those things. That's how bad the movie is. Okay. And this is sad but true. The last one on the list of the sequels is the next Karate Kid.
Yeah,
It didn't play twice.
I love the
yeah.
movie, The Karate Kid, but one was enough. They didn't have to redo it. They didn't need to make sequels. They didn't need a series. I think there's a series now on
Cobra
Netflix
Kai,
or
yeah.
something.
But actually the
Yeah.
series is amazing. I mean,
Is
I
it
love the
good?
series. Yeah, it was really good.
I'm really leery of series off of movies.
Well, if you liked the first Karate Kid, you would like this movie because it really kind of leads a little bit more to the Mr. Miyagi story, like
Oh.
and like his philosophies and so on and so forth. Yeah, to the point where the guy that was the villain in the movie actually becomes good friends with like older in life or more in life that like he was a screw up, he was a mess up, and so on and so forth. Then all of a sudden he found purpose in karate, like doing it the the good way, not doing it the way that he was he was taught.
Wax on, wax
Uh,
off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has his own way of doing it, but they literally go up against the evil guy in the movie that was the teacher that was like, you need to hurt him, you need to break them, you need to, break their legs so they can't fight anymore, so on and so
Right,
forth.
right, right.
And so I love the storyline because it was like here it is like 20 years later, and these two guys that were at each other's throat because this guy set them up, brings back the philosophies of Mr. Miyagi, who's dead and gone, and so it just they bring some of the people back from the movie, that you were kind of like left up in the arm was like, well, where did they go? And so kind of
Right,
tied some stuff
right.
up. So I think the series is really good.
I got a karate story. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
All right. So in my 20s, I studied martial arts. I studied Taekwondo with my first husband, and he was a black belt, and I got up to brown belt. And we studied with the Ericksons, who were very well known and still
Yeah.
very well known in that industry. And our class, as a group, would go to the Chopsaki movies. Is that even politically correct to say anymore? I'm sorry if it's not. It's no intention of anything negative, but that's what we called them, Chopsaki movies. And they were Asian movies that had like 5 sets of subtitles with them. They were
Yeah.
midnight movies at the Inwood Theater, and we would go to study the martial arts movements, in the movies. And we would be the only Caucasians in the movie theater. Okay. And so what was hilarious about these things, because the movies are fabulous as far as studying the art. I mean, they really were helpful. But they're like an hour and a half long, and it's, the bad guy versus the good guy, and there's always a woman involved, and she's always getting in trouble, and she's always getting the worst end of the story for a while. And so there's like subtitles here, subtitles here, subtitles here. The English were either on the top and the bottom, and sometimes there were French subtitles as well, depending on where they were made. And then you would have groups, little pods in the audience that would translate for their people who didn't understand any of those languages. So the movie would be over at like say 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning, but you wouldn't leave till 2 because everybody's still busy translating. I mean, it was just, and we would just sit there and laugh our butts off. It's just chaos all around you. But what got me, and I would just laugh so hard, I couldn't stand it, is that every time the woman got in trouble, everybody laughed. I'm sitting there aghast, because I'm young, dumb, and naive still. And I'm just aghast at the things that are happening to this woman, and they're all just laughing. Ah, ha, ha, she, da, 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 da. And I don't know what they were saying. I don't know why it was funny, but it was. But that was the most incredible multicultural experience I've ever had in my life. So that's my martial arts. That's my Miyagi story.
That's your Miyagi story.
All right, we've got remakes. Did y'all have a favorite or bad remake? I have so many.
Bride was good.
The
Say
what?
again?
Father of the Bride.
Okay, I can see that.
That was good. It was good. I like the original and I like the remake.
Well, the remake didn't try to play off of the first one because that it wasn't the daughter that was actually getting married, and that was the second one. Like it was Bill Murray, but he was marrying off his daughter, who was the first in the first movie, right?
Well, you're thinking
Or
about
was
the
it?
sequel. There was a Father of the Bride in the 50s with Spencer Tracy. Okay. And then it wasn't Bill Murray, it was
I'm sorry, I said Bill Murray right out of the top of my head.
Steve
Um,
Martin.
Steve Martin was the
Steve
father.
Martin. Thank you.
I love him as
Yes.
an actor. I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He brings a lot of, I don't know, emotion when he acts. I like watching him. I really do. But they were both very good. They were both very different as
Yeah.
far as what they brought to the screen, but they were both very good. So you like that.
I
Mhm.
did. I did. I liked it a lot.
Um, I can't think of anything that's been remade that I really love, except Dracula movies. Oh my God.
And I'm kind of indifferent with the Dracula movies because I'm more so when you entail like psychology with like the old movie the Nosferatu. It was like you didn't know who the villain was until like the very, very last like 5 minutes of the movie. It was just like, you had to like use your imagination of what does he look like? What is he doing? Why is it always the shadow? And all of a sudden, boom, something bad happens. So I like those sorts of like horror movies or Dracula movies, where, the movie starts out with like Dracula showing up and sucking the blood of everybody in the room. It's like, oh, well, we know you're a
Not a
vampire. Okay.
surprise, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You're a vampire.
I love all of the horror movies from the 40s, with Lon
Mm.
Chaney and all that, and the
Oh, yeah.
werewolf and all that. But I have to admit, my favorite Dracula is Bram Stoker
Yeah.
Dracula with Gary Oldman.
The
I don't know how they're ever going to beat that one. Ever, ever, ever.
Well, it won all the awards for, like best scenery, best costuming, and like other awards. And I mean, the Gary had like a ton to say about like some of the choices in wardrobe. Like they would put him in something, and then he would go, "That's no, that's not Dracula. That's not how he would present himself." You know,
Right,
and
right.
that red cape, it
Mm.
was like he had it dyed like 3 times, so it was like more blood color, so to speak. But he was just phenomenal because it just brought out this whole regalness to Dracula that, he's like, it needs to be more. It needs to be more. And so they just went over the top with his costumes. And so
Well,
that's the way I
I
thought.
loved it because it showed the human
Yeah.
and the monster.
Yeah.
You had both. And I love him as an actor. And it's weird to me. Have you noticed that Gary Oldman never looks the same in any two movies? Sometimes he's
No.
totally unrecognizable. You're like, that's Gary
Yes.
Oldman, you know? He's really a true actor. I mean, it's almost like he's a sh a
Shape
shifter.
shifter.
Yeah. So I love him. So here are the remakes. I'm going to run through these real quick and then we can go back and discuss the ones you want to. There's Fame, The Mummy, Footloose. Oh my God, that was awful. Poltergeist, House of Wax, Carrie, Planet of the Apes, The Wicker Man, Psycho, and Ben-Hur. And I agree with all of those. I don't think any of those needed to be remade.
No.
You said Footloose. Is there one since Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
Yes, there was one in 2009.
Uh,
It was terrible.
That it didn't need to be remade.
No.
I tell you what I'd like to see a sequel to is Mr. Mom.
He could be Mr. Grandmom now.
Where the kids are all grown up and they have kids of their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. And they're dumping all the grandkids on him and
Yeah.
everything. I love that
Um,
movie. I did. That's the kind of comedy I like. I like that kind of comedy.
but it's
And
interesting. I mean, what movie would I want remade? That's because I'm usually good with the original. Like I don't want to see something like, the image tarnished of
mm-mm,
something else.
mm-mm.
Um, I'm trying to think what I would have remade.
I mean, if it's done right, there's no point to remaking it. I mean, you don't see people taking great classics and rewriting them and selling them
Mm,
as their own idea, you
well,
know?
I can disagree with that because when they redid Romeo and Juliet,
Oh
okay,
my
in
God.
kind of the modernized version, it stuck to the story pretty well, but the acting and like the pace of the movie, horrible, horrible.
Okay. So I have said this ever since I was in middle school. It was when I first read Romeo and Juliet. And I said, this is all wrong. People have misconstrued this because they have put William Shakespeare on a pedestal. He
Mm.
wrote this as a comedy. They don't
Yeah,
get that it's a comedy. And they treat it as like this ultimate love fucking story. And it's not. It's a comedy because none of this makes any sense whatsoever. And I'm like, I don't know who pissed him off and who he was poking fun at, but he was making fun of somebody,
Mhm.
you
I can
know?
get that. I do. I can get that.
That is the worst story, I swear. It just pisses me.
Yeah, I'm not to go back and look at who was at war with who at the time that he wrote that.
Yeah, I think it was a
Um,
political statement. I do.
yeah, I do too. That's what I'm saying. I was like, I wonder who was at war because I mean, the Capulets and the Montagues and so on and so forth are obviously code names for two
Well,
segments.
and you know the Romeo and Juliet movie that they made in the 70s, the actor and actress that were the leads in that wound up suing because they said that it was inappropriate the way that their physicality was handled and their nudity and all that and everything. Oh, speaking of that, Blue Lagoon and the sequels to that,
No, no,
you know? And I have to give Brooke Shields credit. I mean, that child was abused in her teens making
yeah,
movies. You know, the one where she was the baby prostitute and then True Love or whatever that movie was called, and then the Blue Lagoon stuff. I mean, her mother, I think they have a good relationship and everything, but I'm like, her mother needs a spanking. She does for
I,
allowing that to happen.
I thought Blue Lagoon was okay, but I wouldn't. I thought the sequel was stretching it just a little.
Oh, it was all well. They did use a body double, they said, with Blue Lagoon, but it was like the fact that they were out there in the elements without any, warmth and stuff like that. And they just were treated badly all around from what I've read since then and stuff. Just like, boy, people be getting sued left and right if they were making movies like that now.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny because I go completely a different direction. Like at the time that I saw it, like all my friends were talking about, Brooke Shields and boobies, 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 boobies. Okay. And I was always thinking, Chris, butt flap, butt flap, butt flap, you know? So I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I knew that I was a little different back then.
Yeah, well, whatever's important to you, whatever floats your boat. So, um, oh, you know what else was creepy? This is so off top, but Poltergeist. Did y'all
Mhm.
read where when they were in the swimming pool scene where all those skeletons were coming up? When she fell, they were digging the hole for the swimming pool in the backyard, and she
Yeah.
fell in during the rain, and all of a sudden she's surrounded by all these skeletons in that hole trying to get out. Those were real skeletons, and she didn't know it. It was cheaper for them to buy skeletons from the university biology lab than it was for them to make fake skeletons. And those were real effing skeletons in that water. And she didn't know it at the time.
Oh my gosh.
I think I would have beat the crap out of somebody.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Can you imagine? Mm-mm, 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 mm. And then they had to go and remake the movie. That's what gets me. Okay, I love the Planet of the Apes movies because I love the story.
Didn't
But
go.
I don't remember Tim Burton's version, the remake. I don't know if I saw that or not. I'm pretty sure I probably did, but I don't remember. It was in 2001.
I don't remember that.
And it was so bad that he was going to make a sequel to it and they shelved it because it was so badly received.
Hmm.
Don't mess with our monkeys. We love our monkeys. But
Yeah,
I
I
love
love the movies.
and Charlton Heston. Oh my God. And the original. Oh my God. Was he awesome? And then Ben-Hur, the most popular gay movie ever made. And they had to go and remake it. They should have consulted with the experts before they did.
Yes, they should have. But again, that one was riddled with consistency errors.
Who was in that one? Do you know the remake in 2016?
I didn't watch it, so I couldn't tell you. I'm kind of partial to the original.
I cannot tell you how many toga parties I went to in the 80s, and we had to watch Ben-Hur or was always playing in the background. Always.
Yep.
Always. All right. So, what are some of your favorite movies?
I gosh, I have like favorites in like kind of each of the genres. I'm a rom-com, type of guy. I mean, I love romantic comedy. So Under the Tuscan Sun is one of my favorites.
Who's in
Um,
that?
God, what's her name? I can't. You're gonna ask me who these people are, and I cannot remember exactly who
I'll
they
look it
are.
up.
Um, God, what's her name? But I just loved it because at the very beginning of the movie, she says what she doesn't have in her life, and that's exactly what she wants. And she like made up her mind that like it was never going to happen, and that at the end of the movie, she finds out that it all came true.
Yeah,
You know,
Diane
that,
Lane.
yeah,
that's correct. Yes, yes. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing.
yeah. It is a
Um,
good movie.
Fairy tale, the kind of the fairy tale type of movies, not really necessarily a fantasy, but a kind of an explanation of Cinderella, was Ever After, with Drew
Oh, I like
Barrymore.
that. I like that one.
Love that one. Love the movie. So those are two like my all-time favorites. If you are going to get me started on like, either superhero movies or anything like that. I love Christopher Reeves in
Mhm.
everything. I mean, in everything that he possibly did.
Mhm.
I don't know. There was just that kind of no one has ever been able to capture Superman in kind of the Clark Kent, kind of like,
Nope.
oh, okay, that kind of quirky little thing, but have that complete and total transformation when he had to become Superman. So I
Yeah,
mean, so as far as superhero movies, like I thought that was phenomenal.
I think we watched
Um,
all the Superman movies.
yeah, I mean, honestly, there was a time last year that when well last year, but during COVID, I just sat and binge watched all the other
Mm,
Superman movies, from all the way back, including the black and white ones when they then finally turned to color. So, but everything Superman, I just fell in love with. But Christopher Reeves, hands down, anything by him. Horror films, like I don't really get into horror films that much. It's like I've kind of figured. I tell everybody like, listen, I don't do horror just because I don't like being frightened. I don't like being scared, or I don't like surprises. You know, I'd much rather like watch a phenomenal movie. I'd much rather cry than scream. And
See, I
so
don't
with that
get
being,
scared in horror movies. I don't get scared.
well, it's like that surprise that like,
I don't get
oh,
surprised. I
I
don't get
do.
surprised.
I do.
mm.
That so I can't enjoy it. So my favorite, if you were going to put something at the very, very top of my list, is It's My Party. And it's a gay movie. Came out during the AIDS epidemic. And the storyline is that one partner gets HIV, he becomes HIV positive, okay, and his health starts declining. His partner leaves him. They go their separate ways. Um, the one partner that has HIV moves in with their best friend, who's Margaret Cho. And
I love
then
her.
the premise was that he didn't want to have the death that all of his friends that were dying of AIDS had, and so he decided he wanted to take his own life. And so he invited everybody to his party, and that was the theme of the movie is it's my party and I can do what I want to. And so the scene that makes me like cry like you would not believe, and I hope I'm not going to ruin this for you, but the two gentlemen that were married, or not married, but they were together, had a ranch. And on this ranch, they had horses and they would go riding horses, and that was one of their favorite movies. And so when they split up, the horses went away. They had to go away. They sold the ranch, they sold everything that they owned, split everything, so on and so forth. But at the very end of the movie, he says, "Kate, can you take a walk with me?" And the guy had not considered not showing up, and he's showed up. And so they were like, "Can you take a walk with me?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." You know, and they go out, and they kind of walking through the backyard, and they go through this gate, and there's a fence line, and he does a little whistle, and two horses come running over to the fence, and he bought the horses, and he's
Mm.
had these horses since they split up, and he hands him a note that says, "I'm going to give these back to you now."
Oh, I
So
do remember that movie. I've
yeah,
seen it. Yeah.
it was amazing. It really was amazing. So, but
All right. So
that's
as
that's
you,
probably one of the top of that, because, like I said, I much rather get emotionally connected to a movie than to
yes, it's obvious. Obvious.
yeah.
Your favorite movies are very, very
Oh,
emotional.
yeah.
Very emotional. Luann, what are some of your favorite movies? Don't say
Probably
ABBA.
probably what'd she say?
I said, don't say anything with ABBA.
Oh God, no. Um, no. But my kids watched Baby Boom, and they were just obsessed with that movie because they would say, I'd say, what would y'all like to watch? And oh, let's watch Baby Boom again. I said, oh my God, okay. I don't know what it was that drew them to that, but they were
They were
drawn to
hoping for another family.
it. Maybe. Yeah.
So that was their movie. What's your movie?
Yeah. What's yours?
Uh, I liked The Sound of Music. I
Yes.
Okay.
was really interested in that. You know, uh, I like things like South Pacific,
Yes.
and let's see. I did like Sabrina. That was one of my
Mhm.
favorites, and because I like Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah.
I mean, his Indiana Jones one are very action packed, but he plays a pretty good romantic partner too. I was trying to think what else. I think I kind of like that the first Godfather movie. I didn't care much for the sequels, but the Godfather, the first one, was interesting.
I'll agree with you on that
Love
one.
mafia movies. Anything about the mafia. I love it,
Hmm.
love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So what else?
I'm trying to think of something I've watched over and over again, but probably I haven't watched movies over and over again since my kids came into my life, because whatever they wanted to watch is what we watched. So I probably watched The Sound of Music lots of times. What do we watch every year? The Wizard of Oz. We watched it
Yeah.
every year on a Sunday. Yeah, every year.
I remember those
I
times.
I like a lot of movies. I like even bad movies. What I don't like bad musicals. And here's my definition of a bad musical. When I don't want to keep singing the music is used instead of good dialogue, and it's sappy, you know, like
Hmm.
Cats.
AKA
Oh my
cats.
God. Ugh. Most of the musicals that are out there, the musicals I love, I'm very devoted to, like The Sound of Music. I love, love,
Hmm.
love. I love Godspell. I love Fiddler on the Roof. I love the old musicals, things like that. Um, as far as horror, let me define horror. Werewolves, vampires, science fiction, things like that. Not Freddy Krueger, not Jason. Those are not horror movies. Those are torture movies. I don't like
The
torture
slasher
movies.
movies.
Yeah,
Slasher
they're
movie. Yeah.
slasher
Slash
movies.
torture.
No, I don't need to be reminded how cruel people can be to each other. I don't need to see that. Don't want it. And I I don't like any of those. I remember the first time a movie truly impacted me. That was Old Yeller. I cried for
Oh,
2 days. I didn't know a movie could do that. I guess I was little, 4 or 5, and I just cried and cried and cried. I was inconsolable, just totally inconsolable. The next time I remembered a movie that really moved me was The Big Chill.
hmm.
Oh,
And I had 2 contracts. I already had my own business, and I had 2 contracts. I was working with Honeywell Computers and Wayne Computers. I was part of a think tank, and it was sucking my soul dry. And I went in the next day and quit both of them because of
after
what
you
that
watched
movie,
Big Chill.
after I watched The Big Chill. You know, and one of the things that I remember about that movie is Jeff Goldblum. That's when I fell in love with him as an actor, and he was kind of an asshole in the movie. And they were talking about how he always uses a rationalization. He goes, rationalizations are what we need. He goes, can you go without sex for a week? Sure you can. How long can you go without a rationalization in your life?
Hmm.
And something about that clicked in my head. I'm like, I don't want to have to rationalize. I do not want to have to rationalize. Another movie that really moved me was Torch Song Trilogy. Cannot watch that without just falling out. Just falling out. It just rips my soul out. And I'm the same way with the Lady Gaga version of A Star is Born.
Hmm.
I can't, I've wanted to watch it again and I can't. I get 5 minutes into the movie and I start shaking and I just have to stop. Just have to stop. So movies are powerful. They're really, really powerful. I'm not a big rom-com person
Hmm.
unless it's got Matthew McConaughey in it. I love Matthew McConaughey.
Well, I thought Tom Hanks did some good ones. Yeah.
I do not see him romantically though. I like Tom Hanks
Oh,
movies, but I would not date him. I might adopt him as a brother or something, but I would not. Matthew McConaughey, I would date. All right, all right, all right. Yeah.
All right, all right, all right.
And I like Bad Boys, so I love Robert Downey Jr., but he's kind of straightened out now, so he's losing his appeal. Um, Another movie I like a lot of dark movies. I like a lot, go figure, but Boondock Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
And
think I've seen that.
okay, so the guy that plays Daryl in The Walking Dead is in that. And the Scottish comedian, damn, why can't I remember his
Gervais,
name? Huh?
Gervais. Was it
No, no,
Gervais?
he's older than that. He's older than that. It's got William Dafoe in there as a detective, and it's a very shallow looking movie at first until you start breaking it down because it talks about what's right and what's wrong and how far is it all right to go wrong to make it right. Because the
Oh,
Boondock Saints are two brothers and their dad is was also Billy Connolly was their dad.
okay.
And they go through killing criminals. They're getting rid of the criminal element. Well, kind of what Batman does, right? I love Batman too. I like him better than Superman. So, and but it kind of dissects that, and it actually has a sequel that I think is as good as the first.
Hmm.
And they're supposed to be doing a third, and that 15 years later, they still haven't done it. We're all holding our breath waiting for it. So, anyway, I like things that make me think more than, there are a lot of things out there that make me feel, but I like the ones that really make me think,
No, I like
and not,
murder mysteries too.
see, that's like work for me. Scott took me to a murder mystery evening one night as a surprise. And I went, "You did not. Seriously, you did not." And I proceeded to drink myself into a stupor. And 10 minutes into the game, I told him what the
Oh,
motive
this
was,
is.
who did it, and then just had a good time, just
Hmm.
eating and drinking and not participating.
Yeah,
So,
I like those movies too because I would say, so and so did it. And my kids would go, how do you know? And I
You
went,
know that.
yeah, but when
deduction.
you do that a lot, it's like work. It's like you took me to work. Thank you, baby.
Yeah. I'm that way with puzzles. Okay, like puzzles and game design and stuff like that. I mean, and just knowing things about that. Some of my friends decided they wanted to go to one of those escape rooms, and it was just like they gave me the first clue, and I was like, okay, bump, 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 bump. It was like you had 45 minutes to get out of there, and we were out there in five, and they're like, well, you don't make
Yeah.
it fun. You know, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm claustrophobic. I don't want to be in this game, so I want out as fast as I possibly can.
Now I'm going to sit in the corner and watch everybody going, "Really? That's what you're doing?
See, that's what I
Really?"
probably should have done. I should have probably just, took a flask in with me, went and sat down, and it was like, hey, have you considered this?
I'm a people watcher. Those things don't work for me. I'm going to sit down and I may criticize a lot too, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Jane, you ignorant slut, what are you doing? I know. So, there's so many things that I like that are humorous that are no longer politically correct. And so I'm just
Yeah.
afraid to even tell people what I laugh at anymore. But I love
Oh,
the old Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
what was the
Yeah.
movie? They said they couldn't make that movie now. What was that?
Well, they couldn't make Archie Bunker now, I bet.
No.
No. What was the
Blazing
Gleason?
Saddles. They couldn't make Blazing Saddles now.
No,
No.
that's what they were talking about. You're
I
right.
didn't like that movie anyway, so I don't care. See, I don't like that kind of humor anyway. The only thing I liked in the movie is when Madeline Kahn comes out and goes, "I'm tired, so tired."
Tired.
I like that, but I don't know, that kind of humor just kind of annoys me. It just grates on my
Yeah.
skin. And I don't think that you're bad or I don't think bad of people that like stuff like that. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Oh.
I always
Well,
feel
I
like that.
watched Blazing Saddles once. That was enough.
I always feel like I'm left out of the joke. It makes me, I'm like, when I see people laughing at stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't think that's funny. So it makes me feel isolated, you know, because it doesn't appeal to me. It's not funny. And
Mhm.
I don't think badly of them, but it makes me feel bad about myself going, why don't I get that? Why isn't that funny to me? What's wrong with me? You know? And then I got to where I didn't care. So whatever. All right. Most profound movie. This is our last thing. Most profound movie that you have not talked about that you think really sets you into a different frame of mind or path. And it could be entertainment, it could be a documentary, it could be anything.
Well, I think the Civil War movie that we watched, Deborah,
Get closer to your mic, babe. I can't hear it.
I think the Civil War movie that we watched,
Oh my God. Oh my God. I still tremble over that. Yeah. Yeah. It was just too not realistic, but too possibly.
Right.
yeah, it was
It
on
could,
that
you could see it
curve of,
happening.
yeah, it was on that curve of you could suspend all beliefs and believe that might happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd have to second that because
Yeah,
it's so current.
yeah,
I'll need to see it because I honestly, I have to admit, I have not seen it. I have not seen that movie. But I've heard a lot of commentary about it. So, I mean, it intrigues me. So I definitely would see it. Now, one of the things that in people, one of the most profound movies that I think that I saw was Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh man,
And
man.
it was strange. It was strange, and like there were pieces in it that left you wondering what's in reality. What,
Yeah.
how quickly can reality change into fantasy like that? And I think the reason that made it profound is when it opened here in Dallas, it was over at the in the West Village. Can't remember the name of that theater right there. But anyway, it's a smaller theater. There wasn't a lot of people. It was like a very, very small crowd, maybe 50 people. Okay. And I got the pass to see it, and it was like it included like a glass of wine and an appetizer or something like that. So it was like this little special event type thing. Well, what they didn't tell us is that like after the film, was completed and they came in real quick and turned the lights on, and was like, everybody, stay seated. We have an announcement. And they actually invited in Guillermo del Toro.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, and he had a Q&A session about the movie. And people were asking, well, what about this and what about that and what about this? And one of the biggest themes that he brought out in the movie is the psychological change that we go through from childhood to adulthood, okay, is not as big as you think.
I don't think so either.
you know and it's like we translate a lot of what we do in our adult lives with how we perceive things as we're like a child. So I mean, it was profound in and of itself. But then I find out that Guillermo del Toro has a cartoon line that specifically like goes with kids and how to succeed and how to be different, but but still have that strength of character. And so it just that movie was like kind of a kind of pivotal mark for me. That was like, you know what? I can see that. I can see that in my friends. I can see how their reaction to this situation is how a 8-year-old, would react to it. So that's, I guess, more philosophical, but I'll tell you what, it was life-changing movie.
I don't think I ever fully processed that movie, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, it just to me it was like I felt like I held my breath during the whole thing.
Well, if you want a movie, I mean, another movie that was just like close second is The Shack.
Oh, I love The Shack.
what?
The
The
Shack.
Shack. Oh my
I haven't
God.
seen it.
It's a Christian movie.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. If you're a Christian and you got offended by it, I'm glad you got offended by it.
Oh, how could you be offended by that? I don't understand how that's even possible.
The biggest thing was that our conceptions on how we do things, like quote unquote, to honor God, to so on and so forth, and how dare you claim to be the brother, sister, whatever of Jesus Christ, or how dare you say that I'm going to sit down at the table, I'm just going to start eating. you know, because there was a scene in the movie where the guy sits down and eats with, you know, God, who is like portrayed as a black woman, okay, Jesus, who is like this just amazing Indian guy, and then the Holy Spirit is like this. Well, she was Asian, right? An Asian
Mm.
woman, and they sit down to eat, and the guy's sitting there waiting to dig in, and God like picks stuff up and starts serving and putting on our plate, and Jesus hands it over and like that, and this guy's like, are we not going to say grace? And God just looks at him and goes, grace. He continues on. It's like it was mind blowing, the whole thing.
The most profound part of the movie for me, and I had all three of the grandkids watch it years ago. We watched it together. Is when the God was telling him he had to pick which one of his children died
Yeah.
because he was so angry at God because one of his children had been killed by a child rapist and murderer. And
Yeah.
he was so angry at God for that happening and for not this man not
Stepping
being
in.
punished, the way he thought he should be punished. He goes, well, I want you to, it was much more eloquent than this, but basically it was like, pick which one of your children's going to die. And he goes, I can't do that. I'll die myself. And he goes, you get it. How do you expect me to pick one of my children to die? I love them all. I love you all,
That was profound.
you know? And that led to some incredible dialogue with me and the grandkids. And I wound up baptizing all three of my grandchildren in a blow up pool in the backyard a couple of months later,
Uh,
you know? So I don't know how anybody could be offended by that movie. It was profound. It was phenomenal.
it was very profound, and one of the things that I asked someone to watch it, and the whole part of the Holy Spirit showing the overgrown garden,
Mm.
okay, and it was like okay, get in there, take care of it, and he's like, what? And just pulled up the weeds, pulled up, put the brush back and everything else like that, and just cleared this like entire area. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And she was like, sometimes you have to clear out the weeds to have the new stuff go in.
Yeah.
And which is such a profound saying about the Holy Spirit is that sometimes we have to get rid of the stuff that we know or the stuff that's apparent, the stuff that's right there in order for us to have that breakthrough in our lives. And so again, that was probably one of my second favorite movies is that's profound.
Yeah, I've got to go watch it again now. It just it does something. And Scott and I was actually visiting Scott the first time I saw it because he was on contract up in Virginia and he went to see it with me. And again, I sat in the movie theater and just wept. So I wept during that. I wept during the Passion of the Christ. I could barely walk out of the theater because it made the what he went through so physically evident in a way that you could never imagine. Seeing it made a huge difference. It just, so I do like movies that make me think, make me see things because, we see them in our head one way. Sometimes you have to see them with your eyes to fully comprehend the full meaning of it. And so I would say that if I could only watch three movies the rest of my life, it would be The Passion of the Christ, it would be Godspell, and I don't know what the third, maybe The Shack, maybe something else. I'm going to leave that one open for later since I don't have to pick. So, all right. So, herbalist Lou Ann Morris, tell us how to get a hold of you.
Luann, Luann at ancientherbalapothecary.com or go to the website that's ancientherbalapothecary.com.
Okay. And Dr. Pierce.
You can reach me at MatthewAPierce.com. And then, of course, it's Matthew at MatthewAPierce.com. Or you can get a hold of me at my business, my graphic design business. It's ConnectionsDesignStudios.com or Matthew at ConnectionDesignStudios.com.
And we are sponsored by Miles of Smiles Events. Yes, we're fortune tellers and so much more. we come to do intuitive entertainment at your party. And I am actually interviewing a young lady, if we can ever get our schedules coordinated, to maybe offer some additional services. We're always looking to expand and bring on talented, gifted people into our team. So hopefully we'll making that announcement. If you need knowledge like facts so you can make legal decisions, isgu.com, Investigative Solutions Group. And if you need some spiritual coaching or someone just to kick you in the butt to do right, I'm just the one to do it. DeborahColleenRose.com. So we're talking again. Watch out, and we will see you again next week.
Yeah.
Bye.